Just outside of Orlando, Florida, Mike Perry was arrested and charged with driving under the influence of alcohol and not signing a citation requiring a court appearance. He was released from jail after posting a $1,500 bond. Driving under the influence of alcohol was his first offense, so that was the $1,000 bond. Refusing to sign a citation requiring a court appearance was a $500 bond, so a total of $1,500. Mike Perry will make a court appearance pertaining to this at 8 a.m. on October 30th. Mike Perry last fought in boxing versus Jake Paul in July. He lost via 6-round TKO. Prior to that, he beat Thiago Alves in a minute in bare knuckle boxing. The stat that TJ Dillashaw brought up was something that Belal Muhammad wasn't happy about afterwards.
Is that Belal Muhammad's got 4 hours and 17 minutes and 38 seconds in the cage of the UFC and has 0 knockdowns. Hasn't knocked down anyone in 4 hours and 17 minutes.
Belal Muhammad responded by saying, "Didn't this juice head have to take EPO to win fights?" Talking about Dillashaw being the CEO of EPO at one time, but Belal has been getting into verbal battles with smaller guys like 135ers like TJ, 145ers like Ilya Topuria. To be fair, they seem to be mentioning him first, seemingly out of nowhere, and he's responding to them. But it is interesting, he's beefing with guys across every single weight class, but he's had no verbal exchange with Shavkat Rakhmonov. Maybe the language barrier has something to do with that. He takes on Rakhmonov December 7th at the main event of UFC 310. TJ Dillashaw misses fighting and he wants to return, but his shoulder is too messed up to do so. It recently came to light that Shane Carwin has a lot of brain issues. He thinks he's suffered from traumatic brain injury, noticing symptoms common with traumatic brain injury and CTE, including addiction, depression, mood swings, and irritability. Brendan Schaub says Carwin's having a very tough time. He can't keep any type of job. He used to be an engineer, but says now he can't even get or hold a job as a bouncer, and he has trouble even tying his own shoes. A lot of the damage he took wasn't necessarily inside the cage in competition and MMA, but him and his teammates used to spar extremely hard, and they probably dished out a tremendous amount of brain damage during those sparring sessions. Plus, Carwin used to wrestle and he sustained concussions during that period of time as well. And he also used to be a football player, so he sustained a lot of head trauma during that time as well. It's sad to hear. Carwin was an extremely smart guy, very nice, very down to earth, but sadly such brain injuries are a well-known risk associated with combat sports. Carwin also has very little money for basic necessities. Brendan Schaub advocates for more fighter pay. Miesha Tate had an alternative opinion. I'm not here to disagree with anything you said, and I don't know anything about Shane Carwin's life post-fighting, but I think there are unfortunately many people struggling, so it's a bigger problem, the economy, taxes, etc. I also have to wonder if he used any of the money he made to invest in things. Again, I don't know his spending habits. Although fighters may deserve to make more money, it is our job to be smart with the money we make. Not easy, but we do have to be responsible for any decisions we make. That includes even choosing the sport of fighting. I'm a big personal responsibility advocate. With that said, sometimes you find out the hard way that you may feel taken advantage of, or just a lot of stuff didn't go your way. I will say a prayer for him. I certainly don't wish this kind of struggle on anyone. Miesha Tate is kind of on both sides of the fence, playing both sides of the field, because she was going to testify for the UFC in the antitrust lawsuit. She was going to testify on behalf of the UFC before they settled. And she's actually part of the class of members who are filing the lawsuit against the UFC, and she didn't opt out of that, so she's going to end up receiving money from the settlement, and it could be around the $1 million range. Miesha Tate last fought in December, and she looked really good in that performance against Julia Avila. Tate was the underdog in that fight, but she dominated on the ground en route to a third-round rear naked choke victory. Donald Cowboy Cerrone says he wants to return to action. He says he's unretired. He wants to fight 2 more times in the UFC. He took a little break from fighting, did a bunch of steroids, did a bunch of TRT, got a lovely new hair transplant. All these things combined have him feeling like a new man, youthful, fresh as a daisy, and he wants to get back into that UFC octagon. Chasing greatness, 50 UFC fights. Not only do I want to win, I want a bonus, I want to finish. Most wins in UFC history, most finishes, bonuses, most walks to that cage. Jim Miller may have a thing or two to say about some of those records he's talking about, but Cowboy's definitely up there. Actually, Jim Miller was Cowboy's last fight 2 years ago in 2022. Jim Miller won that via choke. But what about all the PED usage? Cowboy says, no slide Clyde and I was working with Transcend HRT and we're coming off and piss clean. I guess in MMA you can retire, do a bunch of PEDs, steroids, TRT and whatnot, come back, piss clean, and use all those gains you made during that period off in your resurrected MMA career. A lot of people want Aleksandar Rakic to be tested heavily as he looks colossal a couple weeks out from his fight with Magomed Ankalaev at UFC 308, October 26th on the main card. This fight has title shot implications for Magomed Ankalaev, maybe not so much for Aleksandar Rakic because he is coming off 2 losses going into this fight against Blachowicz and Prochazka. He got knocked out in that fight in his last fight. But who knows, if he gets the win, maybe he gets the title shot. You never really know who's going to get a title shot anymore in the UFC. If he beats Ankalaev, who's the top-ranked guy, maybe he does get the next shots. Sean O'Malley's pushing for a rematch with Merab Dvalishvili in Miami in March. The UFC will probably return to Florida around that time. And Merab is interested in doing that. That would prevent a fight with Umar Nurmagomedov from happening, which is kind of a shame, but if that's the way it does go down, Umar Nurmagomedov is willing to fight in the meantime. Umar told Submission Radio that he'd like to take a fight in December or January on the same card as Islam Makhachev if Merab Dvalishvili doesn't want to fight. Makhachev won't be fighting in December. He will fight either in January or February against Arman Tsarukyan. Michael Chandler thinks Makhachev beats Tsarukyan pretty easily. He is favored to win that fight, but definitely bigger upsets in the UFC have happened. UFC uploaded the entire Holloway versus Gaethje fight. There's no better piece of content to promote a Max Holloway fight than that one. All 100 fighters made weight on the Contender Series this season. That percentage is a lot higher than guys in the UFC because these guys know if they don't make weight, they're not going to get signed, so they take that weight cut extremely seriously. Ben Whitaker's injured ankle. He's had to deal with accusations from people saying he tried to find a way out of that boxing bout over the weekends. Charles Radtke taking on Matthew Semelsberger, November 9th Fight Night card. Radtke was knocked out by Carlos Prates in his last fight. He's known for that big left hook, which he used in his fight previous to that against Gilbert Urbina. Matthew Semelsberger used to be a football player from Marist College from 2011 to 2014. Sean Sharaf didn't get the win over the weekend over Junior Tafa. He got stopped in the second round, but he was rewarded with a multi-fight UFC contract because he took the fight with Tafa on just 4 days' notice. He almost got the finish at the end of the first round, but was completely gassed out in the second round. Tafa was also completely gassed out in the second round, but he had enough in the tank to just spam a bunch of uppercuts to get the stoppage victory. Onama versus Almeida added to UFC 309 next month. Andreas Gustafsson, who fought in the Contender Series this season and won, will be making his UFC debut on January 11th against Preston Parsons.
This is Pereira's 43rd fight. He fought 8 times in 2018 and 9 times in 2013.
I am not agree with your analysis. I am not agree with your information. This absolutely misguided information to you from where you have picked up this type of garbage I do not know.